What's up, Gatis, is that you scammed your viewers into paying money for a lawyer so you could see your son. I never spoke to your lawyer. Instead, you paid to get acid thrown over me and a Molotov flown into your own son's bedroom.
Here are some interesting clips of Sverige talking about his thoughts on consent, rape, sex with children that you might find a little disturbing.
There's actually this guy called Nature Boy, who I put in epitome of malnourishment. He's actually on trial now for being a cult leader. He said that he had sex in front of his children, and he actually let his son grab his penis, and he talked about it as if it's natural, and it is actually natural. You would always have sex in front of your children because it's nothing special. Sex in nature is just nothing. It's like eating or shitting, as I said. They drilled it inside of your head. Everybody in your life, the media, your parents, and the school system told you that it's wrong. You have been re-educated, and that's why you cannot actually explain why it's wrong when you hear about something such as having sex around children, your children, whatever. Your family... It feels wrong, but does it actually? No. In the so-called ancient times, in some places, it was normal for the mother to show the son how to have sex. And of course, we can produce children with our sisters and brothers. Monogamy. Yes, this is monogamy. Monogamy is you having sex with your family. No. In nature, you simply fuck with your family and there's no jealousy. Why would you be jealous of yourself? Your child, we can assume, is 50% the woman and 50% the man. You're creating a different version of yourself, and then you have sex with yourself, essentially, or at least 50% of yourself.
So Sverige openly advocates for parents having sex with their children, and on top of that, he has also admitted to, at the very least, sexually assaulting, if not raping, a girl before. So this is, again, another clear case of projection. If anything, Sverige was probably the one sexually abusing his son. Sverige also had another child with his current girlfriend. He now has a daughter, so yeah, you should be very worried. This guy has sexually assaulted or raped women in the past, he's tried to murder his other romantic partners, and he openly advocates for having sex with children and your own family members, including your own children. This guy is dangerous as fuck and needs to be arrested.
One good example is Acid for My Valentine, and this is Exhibit 5 in the case. So Exhibit 5 has to do with something that I had been bringing up in the case all along, that on the GOTUS channel we have promotion of CSA, and we have it on the April 2023 live stream where he talks about where you can basically buy children to ride and the different ages and whatnot, comparing countries where you can get them. It's pretty clear that's what he's talking about. And he left that live stream up for a long time. You know, I had my case going and we were having our meetings about whether they were going to act on their own accord or not, or if we were going to get in front of a judge. And he wasn't too worried about it back then. But as soon as, we got in front of a judge and it wasn't dismissed, and then we had our next hearing, he got that sucker down. He's privatized it or whatever he's done with it. But the screen recordings exist. Not only do the screen recordings exist, but the person I'm taking it from, that illustrates a greater breach of contract point. So we all remember that Acid for My Valentine, or many of you do, that last summer when I started my channel, his channel was going strong and it was really getting popular really rapidly. And he had like 1,000 or more subs right away and was growing. And then all that hard work, they took it down. So contrast that with Gaddis Laxton's and what he's been able to do. And by the way, to reiterate, when you're a wanted fugitive and that's a matter of a court record, there's a court order, a warrant is a court order for your arrest. And it's in a trial transcript that's a matter of public record, that they will arrest you if they can find you, and on we can go. That's a totally different game than naming people that you just want to defame. Even if you want to claim that they're anything, child abuse or anything else, that's not a matter of them being a wanted fugitive. You can name wanted fugitives, and they don't have any reasonable expectation of privacy. So totally different game naming you than you naming Diane, for example, back when you did that. And they now have a legal letter from Diane citing everything that he's done, sworn and attested to. And they've seen it. And they have all of this evidence. And yet we see the inaction. But Acid for My Valentine, we know that they took his channel down and he had to start all over again. So his awesome screen recording and little compiling of that one part of that live stream is Exhibit 5. And it's tied into the fact that they treated his channel very differently than the criminal's channel.
Like in Afghanistan, like you're able to buy like a 12 or 13-year-old bike, even though it's an old bike, it's a rusty bike. You can literally buy bikes like that there, but it's dangerous to buy those or ride those kind of bikes in the US, because you need like a license, because those kind of bikes are seen as rusty and dangerous to ride. But like in Afghanistan, you can buy and ride those kind of bikes, and in a lot of Muslim countries, so there's like a lot of different rules, but we get programmed that these kind of bikes are dangerous to ride in Europe and in America, and it's funny because it's actually not dangerous at all. It's actually a lot of fun, but it's actually very good for you, and still you can ride the bike for a long time, I would say still. But like we throw those kind of bikes away, and it's a waste. It's basically a waste not to ride those kind of bikes, even though they're already old. Like 12 and 13-year-old bikes isn't really an old bike, but they are seen as old in a lot of these countries, and where people watch Hollywood movies. Or my new bike, like a 1 or 2-year-old bike, which is very new, if you understand what I mean. 30-year-old bike is also dangerous. No, I mean a 2-year-old bike, that's the safest, of course.
warrant. But I've also told you where you can go get your own warrant, and some of you have a lot easier time getting this than we do in the States. You know, had I not had this copy of the warrant, I would have had to do a motion for judicial assistance to get the warrant, which I could do, by the way. And that means that the court here asks the court there to get the warrant. But I didn't have to do that. I have it. So had this been a fake warrant, by the way, also the attorney that represents YouTube Google asked me if I have something besides a screenshot, and I did. Had this been a fake warrant, that would have been brought up. It wouldn't have been accepted into evidence, and it's a crime to upload fake evidence into a court system like that. I would never have done something like that, and I could be in trouble if I did. So Amtskirch Offenburg. So Offenburg is in Baden-Württemberg, which is the region that Marina and Elias lived in. And for anyone who doesn't know, Marina Abdullah is Primal Bell. She is Gaddis Lagston's girlfriend that he found on a Russian dating site, which we've all seen the site with her picture on it. And she was still married while posting herself on that site. And he got with her and they hired her husband and daughter to do the crime. She's accused of being there the night of the crime on the warrant, which, I've shown on my channel where I've translated this into English. Some people use a document viewer and they've translated it to English that way. I also went into Google Translate and looked at it and this tells what all they're accused of. It's January 20th, 2023. This is post the fires that they set. Angelina Sierra Abdullah, that's Primal Bell's daughter. She's got a tattoo that says Angelina on her arm. And then Beschluss. And then this is, where they were living and everything. Beschuldigden means that you're being accused. Der Beschuldigden, that's Angelina. And let's go down here. And this tells what all they're accused of. Gründe means reasoning. So this lays out their reasoning. And this talks about right here, you can see Nederland. The Netherlands is accusing them of going to Zeeland-Westbrabant. I'm maybe not saying that right, but nonetheless, it's a province in the Netherlands. And Berghamsted in the Zeeland province is where Diane was. And you'll see down here, that's who they attacked. Now, who all is wanted besides Angelina? Because there's warrants for all of them, but this includes everybody, so this is what's good about this. So, Die Beschuldigten, Mary Marina Abdullah, that's Primal Bell, Angelina Sierra Abdullah, and Elias Abdullah on the 22nd of May of 2022. So that's the acid attack and beating prior to the fires, went to Berghamsted in Nederlanden. And this has to do with they wanted to inflict bodily harm at the request of Gaddis Lagston. See that right there? And I'm not translating every word verbatim, but I have on my channel before. And then we have, who were they doing something? Who did Gaddis Lagston's employ them to do something to? Diane Vanden Bosch. And it also says he's wanted for separate prosecution. So that's what all this says in here. Now, and I don't use her surname very often, but just to make the point that that's who we're talking about. She didn't want to be doxxed. Gaddis Lagston's forcibly doxxed her online years ago. Before these attacks, that's another of his YouTube crimes, when he was trying to deploy people to harass her criminally. And yeah, so that's who they attacked. And it goes into what kind of attacks. And he's wanted for separate prosecution also, it says here in these German words here. And you're welcome to get your very own copy and pull it up, blow this up, do whatever you want with it. But right here, we have the Körperverletzung also, just to point that out, that if you look up this body of law, it's a body of law in Germany that has to do with like criminal law. We have several that have to do with bodily harm here, and using weapons against people and things like that, and concealing evidence, which they also did. So I looked all those up at one time. So yeah, and that's also been laid out on my channel. So I don't feel like I should have to do that work over and over and over again to combat lying. Have to do with what I'm working on. Signed by Vincent Chiarello, the judge, Superior Court of Santa Clara. There's the case, 24CV449612. And yeah, so what else was I going to show you? Let me think. So newspaper article links. How come I've never seen it in the news? Well, first of all, there are criminals all the time that have done terrible things, including, raping kids, killing people, and you don't hear about them on the news necessarily, especially when they're still wanted and it's a smaller case. I mean, one woman and child and then another child in danger might not make the news just yet. Doesn't mean their lives don't matter, right? Just because he hasn't killed 500 people yet. I mean, there are people that have done a lot more than this before they get heard about. So we do have, though, news articles, obviously. So let me show you some of that. I've worked with the person who helped compile all these. So let me just show you per my email here, all of the acid attack articles, arson articles that we have. And Lundy Forest on her channel, one of her videos, she posted all of these. There's those. And then you have something else that I wanted to show you as well. And I'm kind of pressed for time, so hopefully this video makes sense. So let me show you something else, and there's so much more, but this is the most recent article that someone shared with me. They have this special hokey bunch of human rights laws that are to protect the reputation of anyone who's a public figure, and that's really helped Gaddis a lot. They've used enough identifiers to have his name there, but until convicted, and even when convicted, because Ilias A was convicted, they are careful not to fully identify people a lot of times. So we have Ilias A from Germany. He was a Kosovoan who lived in Germany, married to Marina Abdullah, and he's 36, and attacked the woman from Berg-Homestead, May 2022, through sulfuric acid. Now, you saw the names on the warrant, so you know who we're talking about here. The man says that the ex-partner of victim Diane forced him to attack, which caused permanent unsightly scars on her body. Who was the man that the warrant said forced him to attack, and who's the ex-partner of victim Diane? Gaddis Lagstans. Who's Gaddis Lagstans? Godis or Sferia. And by the way, if you want to dispute that fact, go to the Metro UK article about him stabbing his classmates in Ventspils School in Latvia in 2006. That's still widely available online, showcased in much of our work online as well. And the teacher identified him as indeed being that school stabber. So Gaddis Lagstans is Godis or Sferia, and his girlfriend is Premalbil or Marina Abdullah. And they hired Ilias Abdullah and Angelina Abdullah to do the acid attack, beating attack, and 2 arsons. Marina is accused of actually being there for those attacks. Gaddis, during the trial, it came out that he not only hired them for the attacks and orchestrated it, but he supplied the sulfuric acid and the license plates. Also, he's been caught on CCTV camera at her house before. Sworn affidavit from Catherine Richards says that they were going to do something to her, but they saw that they were on camera. The plot was going to be to kidnap and torture and kill them, her and the child.
Thank you everyone so much for helping, and it really has made it possible for me to get through this difficult time that I really don't know how I would have gotten through that without your support, being so generous and kind and amazing to help. And I just appreciate it so much, and it gives me the hope that we can get through this.